Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. Tonight on Horizonte, in Sounds of Cultura, SOC, learn about the history and symbolism behind the Dia de los Muertos traditions. Plus, hear the sounds of Latin jazz from a musician blending Caribbean rhythms in the Southwest. And what one company is doing to encourage women and Latinos to consider a career in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. All this coming up next on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Thanks for joining us. Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, is a colorful Mexican tradition that celebrates and honors the dead. Joining me to talk about the history behind this custom is Oliverio Balcells, Mexican contemporary social artist and scholar of ancient Mesoamerican cultures. Oliverio, welcome to Horizonte.
Thank you very much, Jose.
And I want to begin by pointing out that I am dressed for the occasion. I wore my Pineda Covalin Dia de los Muertos tie. It's got the sugar skulls, the marigolds, and the pan de muerto, bread of the dead, on it. And these are all symbols that you're going to tell us about.
Yes, obviously those are the symbols of the offerings, the traditional offerings.
And we're going to begin with the pre-Hispanic traditions, and this first image and a couple more that we're going to show all relate to the origins of these celebrations. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the region is at least 2,000 years old, and in Mexico it started with the concept of philosophical of the essence of Miquiscli. This is the symbol that we're looking right now, and Miquiscli is one of the signs of the calendar. And what it means is recollection, repose, and also tells you that we have to assimilate and valorate again what it means to be alive and what it means to be dead. And
we have two other images that go in this first set of pictures also of basically historical artifacts.
Yeah, exactly. This concept was developed all over with different cultures in ancient Mexico, and it was part of the celebration after the agricultural cycle every year during August. And that was the time they used to celebrate this concept of Miquiscli with corn, beans, and squash. This is the time where everything started to develop as a concept of celebration who passed away. First of all, it was for the children, and then for the adults 20 days after.
And we have one last image that we're going to put up on the screen. Also, basically the same.
Yeah, the same concept. It was totally related to the sign of the calendar that we knew as a Miquiscli.
And then you have the conquest. The Spaniards bringing their own religious traditions and trying to assimilate.
Yeah,
the Indians. I think you call this the mestizo period.
Yeah, this is the mestizo period because it's the fusion when we get to know as the celebration as we know it right now, in a basic concept with the Todos los Santos celebration from Spain.
All Saints Day.
Yeah, and the difuntos, fieles difuntos.
All Souls Day.
That was for the little kids, and then for the adults. So what happened, the Spanish always trying to assimilate the ancient rituals to their own, to evangelization concepts. They put together these two important dates and closer so they can still practice, but more as a religious way. And this is the time when the offering, as we know right now, was born.
And the traditional altars, we've got three images we're going to put up on the screen while we're talking of the altar that is most often associated with celebration of the Day of the Dead.
Yeah, exactly. The altar and it got the elements of this tradition, which are water, candles. You have copal, you have flowers, you have the cempasúchil flowers. You have
those are the marigolds.
The marigolds. You have the food of the person who makes this offering. And actually it can be religious objects and pictures.
And we got two more pictures. We'll just put them up while we're talking of the altars. And you mentioned pictures of loved ones who have passed, and this is a good example of that.
Yeah, and it's very relevant to mention that depending the state or the region of the culture, the altar will change. So it not will be the same, an altar from the state of Guerrero and the one from the state of Yucatan. It will have the basics of the symbolism and the characteristic, but the design is always different.
And one of the elements you see in this picture in particular is what's called papel picado above and then around the altar. Tell us about that.
Papel picado comes from most of the modern times, which we're going to talk about it also with the renaissance of the art in Mexico. This is before the revolution, and this is with the artists like Gerardo Morillo and Jose Guadalupe Posada. These artists, what they did, they developed a style, a unique style as a Mexican art, and spread all over in the fine arts. So what happened then, Jose Guadalupe Posada came with this image that is very well known right now, and it's called La Catrina.
And that's the next image we have, and we want to put that up. This is one of the most famous images. He lived at about the time of the Mexican Revolution in 1910.
This is before, right before. This is where Porfirio Diaz was having control in the country. So all these artists trying to develop a conscience between being an artist and a uniqueness of also being a Mexican. So what Posada did, he did a satire image of a person. It's called Catrina. Catrina means a woman very well dressed.
Very elegant.
Very elegant.
It was a political statement in many ways,
exactly.
against the rich.
All the engravings that he did, that was satirical and characterization of different personas on the skeletons. So what happened with Diego Rivera on one of his famous mural, as Sunday afternoon dreaming in the Alameda, he painted the Catrina in a full body, holding his hand. He painted himself as a boy, and he was holding the hand of the Catrina.
And Frida Kahlo, his wife, is standing next to him.
And exactly. So at that moment, what happened is that the Catrina image explodes all over the country, and people get to know about it. And that's the time when it gets so popular, and schools start having altars, and public buildings, parks, everywhere, and utilizing characterizations from Guadalupe Posada. That's very important.
And that's kind of, even though it's more than 150 years ago, that's kind of the beginning, or about 120, 30 years ago, the beginning of what you would call the modern.
Yeah, that would be the modern times, exactly, because at this point, it started to spread through the whole country, different countries, and now, as we can see, it's spread all over the world.
Including the United States, and we got another
including
image
the
talking about
States
modern.
and Europe and Japan, and actually it's very unique and important because other cultures identify themselves with this celebration.
So you have some young ladies here really going all out.
Yeah, now everybody wants to be a Catrina, you know. It's fun to have your face painted. It's fun to dance. It's fun to celebrate. And especially that you can make your own altar at home, or you can be at the cemetery. It's many activities that you can do with your family and friends and spread this beautiful tradition to everybody.
And I want to come back to some of those celebrations that are going on right now in the Valley, but one last image that we have kind of reflects the recognition that this really is a tradition that has achieved worldwide status.
Yeah, this is very relevant, I would call it, because UNESCO, which is United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization, named it in 2003 the masterpiece of oral and intangible heritage of humanity. This means that we can be part of it, even if you're not Mexican. That's relevant. So it's for the whole humanities, and it's something that we can celebrate all over the world.
So let's talk a little bit about celebrations here in Arizona. Xico, originally Xicanindio, had the oldest kind of popular celebration of the Day of the Dead. Xico is still in existence. They'll be doing theirs this weekend at St. Mary's. Cultural Coalition did theirs a week ago. Carmen and Sarko Guerrero, the original founders of Xicanindio, did theirs. And you and a number of other artists are participating in festival at the Desert Botanical Gardens.
Yes, that is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and we have a lot of activities for the whole family in the beautiful botanical gardens. We have all of our artists selling their art related to the Day of the Dead, and we'll be having music and food and all this beautiful celebration with everybody.
And what will be on exhibit also are the ofrendas, the altars that you and the other artists have done.
Yeah, that's something that every year the botanical garden does, and we will have these altars over there for the public to view.
And each one's really personal and unique to the artist. Tell us about the one you did.
The one that I did is dedicated to my mom, who just passed away this year. And what I did, I want to focus on the levels, with the dimensions, where the spirit can go. And I have included a Virgin of Guadalupe. She loves the Virgin, and a picture of her and her favorite flowers, purple flowers. I have included her favorite chiles for her dishes, and candy. She loves candy, and some of her objects that she used to use, and photographs of my grandfather, my grandmother, and my favorite pictures with her. And it's very
special.
Very
personal.
special, yes.
And one last tradition we should mention is in Guadalupe, the Yaqui Mexican population there celebrates in a more traditional way. They spend the night in the cemetery cleaning the graves and having a party, basically.
Yeah, that's what it is about. This is a celebration of joy. The tradition said that the souls come back to this world and spend time with the loved ones. So that's what it's about. So people are really enjoying the time and just being there and celebrating the day. That's what it is about.
Oliverio Balces, thank you for joining us on Horizonte to help us celebrate this wonderful tradition.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Puerto Rican musician Chili Willy Groove adds an eclectic flavor to the local music scene with his funky and groovy jazz beats with salsa notes. As a child, he was always interested in music and had played with different salsa, smooth jazz, and funk bands. In Sounds of Cultura SOC, AZPM producer Luis Carrion talks with the musician as he performs an eclectic mix of Latin rhythms and soul from his CD, Only the Beginning, in Southern Arizona.
Your heartbeat beats to a rhythm. You walk to a rhythm. Everything we do is to a rhythm and to a beat. My real name is William Portela Sr. I go by the talented name of Chili Willy Groove. I'm a Latin percussionist, songwriter. I was the one that started the smooth jazz and the Latin jazz here on Sundays at Monterey Court. We had a 6 or 7 month run. We're back now tonight for a reunion concert. Originally from Santurce, Puerto Rico. Boricua's in the house right now. So I came down from Puerto Rico to the Bronx, New York. My father is a Latin percussionist. When I was in my mother's womb, he would play congas to my mother's womb. While I was in her womb, I would jump up and down from the excitement of the rhythm vibrating through her stomach and so forth. So my mother told me I used to jump up and down and so forth while he played a guaguancó, a mambo, a son montuno, a merengue, a plena seis con ocho, whatever. As a percussionist, our job is to color the music. Just like a painter has different paintings and different colors, and he got an airbrush and different airbrushes and so brushes to paint what he paints. My job as a percussionist is to paint the picture, but I don't use paintbrushes. I use sound, you see. So a little triangle here on top of that. And then I'll add a guaguancó because I feel a guaguancó. If it calls for So the drummer is tum ta tum 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 ta. Then the conga player is ta tum tum ta tum ga tum ta tum ta tum tum ta tum ga tum ta tum tum ta tum ga tum ta tum tum pa. So now he's locking into the groove. Now he's building on top of that. And then you got the bongocero who will put martillo on top of that. So you got the tum ta with the drum, tum ta. Then you got the conga player, tum ta. Now you got the bongo player doing this, tum ta, ta 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 pa 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 ta tum pa 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 ta tum pa 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 ta tum. It's music talk. We're having nothing but a conversation, musically. When it becomes personal, then it becomes part of who you are and what you are. And when people start smiling and reflecting, and you're watching them tapping their toes, and you hear them clap, and you hear them shaking, and you hear them rocking their head, it's only because the music is touching them in a way that, wow, they're receiving what we're putting out. And when they can receive what we put out, and they start smiling, for me, that's worth $1 million. You can't replace that.
A software engineer from the General Motors Innovation Center in Chandler led a science, technology, engineering, and math (STEM) student workshop at the 30th Annual Hispanic Women's Corporation's Professional Development and Leadership Institute. Joining us to talk about this is Alexandra Figueroa, a senior software engineer at the General Motors Innovation Center in Chandler. And Alexandra, forgive me for speaking a little slow on your name because I'm so tempted to say Alejandra, but you're from Puerto Rico and it's Alexandra.
Alexandra, thank you.
So, and speaking of that, give us a little bit more about your background. You told me off camera that you're Puerto Rican.
Yes, I'm born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I went to the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez, and that seems to be a very good engineering school where a lot of companies throughout the U.S. like going and recruiting. That's how I ended up moving to the United States. I ended up getting an offer when I finished and ended up landing on the United States.
Now, while you are a very young woman still, when you started, there weren't that many women, young women, getting into engineering.
Nope, and there's still not that many, and that's part of what we try to do, and then, go and talk to girls and then show them, hey, I'm just like you, I come from the same background as you, to try to inspire them to study fields like this one.
And I want to explore a little bit more the dearth of women in engineering, but let's talk about the conference that you just led and the kinds of things that you tell the young women who attended.
Sure, so at the conference that I attended, there was a student portion of it, and there was over 300 girls, mainly high school students, and we talked about I talked a little bit about my background and how I ended up being part of the field. And surprisingly, they were very interested, and many of them haven't heard about it because they tend to relate with what's common around them. So we talked about what General Motors is doing as a company. We talked about how it is, like if I can do it, they can do it too. They seem to be a little bit scared about sometimes math, but it's a little bit more than just math, right? And then just inspire them to do something different and something where a field that there's a lot of work out there. And like by 2020, there's gonna be a million jobs unfulfilled in the United States alone. And people are not studying this type of field. So we're trying to encourage that.
So part of the message is if you want a job, this is a field to go into, and if you want a good paying job where women are treated relatively equal to men, this is where you want to go.
Absolutely, because women unfortunately still get paid less than men, but in STEM related fields, the gap is a lot lesser. And women in STEM related fields, they actually make in general 33% more than non-STEM related fields, which is awesome.
Now I know that the GM is a leader in this area. I mean, everybody needs to improve. But you have a CEO who's female.
Amazing, yes, very proud of that.
And a fairly large percentage of women who are engineers.
That is true, and actually the CEO, Mary Berra, she is actually an engineer. That's how she started, and she started in General Motors as an intern, and she moved her way up, which is amazing to see, in this time and day, somebody that's able to move throughout the company and then be there for so long and make it to the top, especially a woman.
So tell us a little bit, generally at least, about the kinds of efforts that GM is engaged in to encourage women to go into STEM fields.
Absolutely. We have the GM Foundation, which has been, I think, since 1976, so like almost 40 years, helping with, the main goal is to help communities. So one of the things that on the last decade they've been focusing more is in helping with STEM-related fields. Speaking about Arizona, the GM Foundation recently is going to be helping with Tempe High School. There's going to be 2 different programs that we're bringing in that are sponsored by the GM Foundation. One of them is through the USHLI, which is coming and talking to the students about leadership, about STEM-related fields, and we bring people that are in the field to encourage them. Another one of the programs is coding a second language, and it's something that kids will be able to do as an extracurricular thing, and General Motors is actually, through the GM Foundation, is sponsoring all of that.
And in that second program, what would they learn?
They will learn how to do programming, how to do software, programs. So, and then they try to do it in a way that appeals to kids, so that way they can see themselves in a field like that in the future.
And the first one you said was at USHLI? Mm-hmm. Is that Hispanic Leadership Institute? Mm-hmm. And so what are they taught there? Kind of how to rise up in management ranks?
Yes, and then talk about leadership and empowerment, and they bring people that have been there, have done that, to empower and then to engage the students, and then relate also. Because sometimes we might see people that are doing amazing, but we cannot relate to them. But if we bring somebody similar to us, right, we can feel like, hey, if they can do it, maybe I can do it as well.
Let's talk about the Innovation Center. Just give us an overview of it, the kinds of things that GM is doing.
So General Motors in the Chandler Innovation Center, we do a lot of the programming. There's 4 innovation centers in the United States. One of them, and the last one that ended up opening up, is in Chandler, Arizona. And something that General Motors is doing is bringing back in-house a lot of the software engineering work. It used to be outsourced, whether it was throughout the world or to other companies, and they're trying to bring it, like in-house for General Motors badge people. So it's exciting.
And this is one thing you talked to the young ladies about when you were at the conference.
Yes, because we do a lot of recruiting also with, college students. So, yeah. What
do you think is the biggest barrier to getting women to consider the STEM fields, and particularly Latinas?
I think for Latinas, sometimes we tend to relate to what we've seen, which is not bad, but sometimes we don't know any other options. So women might be a little bit afraid also of maybe, math, or they might be afraid of maybe thinking it's too hard, that they cannot do it. And that's totally not true at all. I think I was naive enough when I heard, that computers was going to be the future in venturing on a field like this, and then, thought that in my head, I didn't think that I couldn't do it. And maybe, women need to know that hey, be naive and know that, yes, you can do it.
And again, employment, you mentioned when we were off camera, you've never lacked for a job.
No, never been without a job. Yeah, so there's a lot of work out there, and it seems like the interest for those fields is going down. And we're trying to, find out like exactly, like why, and it might be because they might not be able to relate, and especially on, like the Hispanic community, we tend to be close off to what we know, what's comfortable. And then once, like what I'm encountering is when I talk to young girls and they're able to see themselves, an example with me, like, hey, I'm not perfect.
So they've got somebody to look at as a role model.
My English is not perfect.
Oh, it's good enough, and actually it's superb. Alexandra Figueroa, thank you for joining us on Horizonte.
Thank you.
To find out more information about what's on Horizonte, go to azpbs.org and click on the Horizonte tab at the top of the screen. There you can access many features to become a more informed Horizonte viewer. Watch interviews by clicking on the video button or by scrolling down to the bottom of the page for the most recent segments. Learn about more specific topics like arts and culture and immigration. You can also find out what's on Horizonte for the upcoming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or you want to buy a video, that's all on our website too. Other features include our collection of website links and a special page for educators. While you're there, show your support for Horizonte with just one click. Discover all that's on Horizonte. Visit azpbs.org, Horizonte today.
And that's our show for tonight. From all of us here at Horizonte and your Arizona PBS station, thank you for watching. I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.